Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. It's been a really interesting few weeks, and it's been an incredible few weeks actually. So I just wanted to touch base on a few of the things that have sort of happened, and a few of the things that I've realised over the last couple of, well, I say a couple of weeks. Brings me to my first topic. Really, this is the end of actually sort of a week and a half, nearly 2 weeks into my second year out. That's it. From the moment that I came out, I did a video about coming out the other day and how that went. I'm not going to go into all that again, but you know what? It's been this really interesting period. And I remember early on, there were quite a few people saying to me, just give it a year. Give it time, things will work out. All the things I was worried about. I'm never going to feel like myself. Am I ever going to even look like myself? There was a whole list of things, and people were always saying to me, look, just give it a year. And yeah, it turns out that they were right. So thank you. Sorry, I wasn't listening. I'll try and pay attention in future. I think I spoke again. I spoke about this briefly the other day, but I think in this last year, I've had a lot of life experience. I don't really want to use the term that they call it real life experience, but that is what they call it. But I've had a lot of that. And that particularly, that includes, obviously home life, family, friends life, all the social sort of life bit of it, but my work life as well, which I was going to try and cover off a little bit more about today, really. As many of you know, I work in the family business. So when I came out to my parents, I was coming out to my employer at the same time, which was, talk about all or nothing. That was daunting, to say the least. But in reality, it just hasn't been a problem for people. I've had more, resistance isn't the right word, but there's been more emotion to deal with on the family side of things, definitely, than in work. And frankly, in work, it just hasn't been an issue. I think I've had one client at one point ask a silly question like, well, are you just going to turn up in a mini skirt and heels? And thinking, well, no. I've got the legs for it, right? But no, that's not me. I'm not going to come to work like that. It's not professional, in an engineering shop. This was not going to happen. I think what else I noticed is that for the bulk of people, almost everybody, that is just a non-issue. I'm there to do a job, and I turn up, and I'm fairly good at my job, so I just get on and just do my job. Most people, to be fair, have wanted to address the issue, sort of the elephant in the room, which is fair enough because, well, as you lot know, the sky's an open book. But touch wood, apart from the same sort of repetitiveness, and I did that sort of FAQ video before, apart from that same sort of repetitiveness of questions, people aren't being generally disrespectful, to be honest. I think I'm very lucky because, whilst I am getting new clients, a lot of my work is repeat business. So people knew me prior to my transition. And, I think in some respects that they're just concerned for me, which is perfectly normal. It's nice, actually. It's quite nice to sort of feel that people care. It does take time for people to adjust. My dad called me Sammy for the first time the other day. He's been calling me Sam and Samantha, but he called me Sammy for the first time the other day, and that was like, yeah, you know what? I feel sort of just accepted. I feel like, whatever I'm doing, whoever I actually am now, that is enough. And that was, I didn't really make a point of it, but that was, quite cool. But I think most of all this year, I have noticed something that a lot of the things I was worried about, the abuse, the fact that people were just going to reject me, that I was going to have serious problems, it just hasn't been like that. Most people, I think it's two sides of the coin. You've got some very positive people who are alarmingly supportive, actually. It's almost sort of not patronising, but getting on that way, sort of levels of supportive, which is cool as long as they're being, you know, kind, supportive. I can live with that. But I think more than anything else, most people just, it doesn't impact them at all. Day to day, my life, who I am, doesn't actually impact them. How I behave and, you know, how I act and how I work with, for those people, that's just so much more important, and that's definitely been shown over the last 12 months. And what a way to finish off my first year out than with my first GIC appointment. Yes, that was a long wait, over 2 years on the waiting list, which was hard. And I did a video about that as well, which I'm just going to have a sort of, I'll do that thing where I put a picture up of it. That really early on, I decided that I wasn't just going to sit around waiting, that I wanted to sort of get on with my life. I wasn't just going to hang around waiting for an appointment that I didn't know when it was going to be, because that uncertainty was harder than, it was harder than, well, actually it was harder than doing it, and harder than getting on with it when it came down to it. That limbo, that not really having a whole life, which, you know, I now feel like I do have a whole life. This is my life now. And that's quite cool. I think what makes it really difficult with the GIC wait, though, is there's this huge fear of the unknown. Nobody really knows what it's going to be like. It's not, for me anyway, sorry, just my experience. I was well nervous, I'm not going to lie. I was terrified, you know. I'm getting on in my living my life, and I'm going to see for the first time, really, somebody who is qualified to tell me whether I'm right about who I am or not. But it turns out that it was completely unfounded. That those fears were just normal anxiety, just, you know, fear of an unknown. And frankly, I think somebody put it quite well. It's pretty good work if you can get it, isn't it, really? Diagnosing people that have already transitioned and have a happier life and a better life now. Diagnosing them as being trans. It's probably not that difficult. But, you know, being realistic, I went in there, and from the off, I just, you know, I explained that, well, I've, you know, changed my name, made my social transition, that I'm getting on with life and work, and I'm a lot happier than I've ever been, and that was enough. There's this narrative that floods various forums and groups and websites, and it's all over the place. What do you say? What didn't you say? What should I say? What trigger words should I be looking for? What should I try and avoid saying? How should I dress? How should I... No, I'm sorry, there is no magic combination of things that you can say. There is no special clothes that you can or can't wear. There's no trick here. You know, it is 100% about the facts. And those facts have to be backed up by evidence, you know. So, for example, you know, saying, oh, yeah, I've socially transitioned, I've made a full role, I'm working, so on and so forth. They said, okay, cool, well, can we see some documented evidence? So I have my deed poll. This is proof I've changed my name. Can I prove I'm working? Well, yeah, look, I'm self-employed. Here's my tax return. You know, proof. Bank accounts and insurance details. I think I took with me anything I could find that had my name on it that proved I was actually who I said I was. But there wasn't that big a part of it. You know, they were just like, oh, okay, cool, that's fair enough. If you know, you could show us, that's fine. Why would they not believe me? You know? I think what it really comes down to is that they do just want to help people. They just want to help you do what you need to do with your transition. And that's really the phrase. It's your transition. Because there's a reality to transition. I keep saying, I say it almost every video, I think that being transgender is not a choice. Nobody in their right mind would choose to go through some of the things that I've been through. I'm not going to get all emotional and pour my heart out. I did that the other day, and I'm not going back to that dark place. My life is better right now. But there is a reality that, you know, how one transitions, when, hell, even if one makes a transition, that is a choice to a degree, and it's, you know, it's up to you to find your path and to go at your pace through that. But being realistic, if you're going to want support from the NHS, from the GIC, in fact, even if you want to go private for particularly for surgery, then I know it's upset a few people me saying it, but there are certain things that you will have to show you can do. No one's going to give you massively risky, life-changing, very complicated and, you know, very, very difficult to recover from surgery if you can't give them some assurances that it's A, going to support your life, and that B, your life can support it. You know, the silly things, the changing your name thing, you've just got to do it. You just got to do it. Yeah, sure, it's probably going to be difficult. There'll be questions. If you're not quite ready to do that yet, then fine. But don't expect treatment to go any further until you can do that. Coming out of work or finding work and then coming out, or whatever it is you want to do, however which way you want to do it, you're going to have to prove it. You can't say, well, I'm having surgery, so I'm going to go on to some sort of social support for the rest of my life, benefit support for the rest of my life, because that's not sustainable. You've got to be able to prove that you've got a sustainable life. I've changed my business model recently to allow for the fact that I'm going to need some time off. I'm making changes to it all the time. In terms of whether you get access to HRT, well, yeah, there are private routes and people do get access to HRT. But I don't want people to think that, you know, being on HRT for a month, 6 months, 12 months longer is going to solve all of those problems. Being on HRT isn't going to change your name. It isn't going to make you come out of work. You're not just going to wake up a few months later after HRT and go, right, I've got the perfect body now, I can go and do the rest of this. That's not how, well, I didn't. You might. It might be how it works for you, but that isn't what happened for me. And I know that isn't what's happening for a lot of the people I speak to. So HRT is not some magic fix that's going to solve absolutely everything. It really, really helps. It's helped emotionally and internally. It's helped me a lot more than it has physically. You know, being realistic, but it isn't going to just hand you the rest of it. You still need to take back control of your life and make those changes if you want to go through that process. If you don't want to go through that process, if it's not for you, or if you're happy where you are, then fine, stay where you are. You don't have to have surgery to be trans. You don't have to have HRT to be trans. You don't have to dress gender appropriate to be trans. Your gender is your business and yours alone, and how you choose to pursue expressing that gender, how you choose to pursue living that life, living that gender, is entirely your decision. But if you do want to do the hormone thing and you do want to do the surgery thing, then there is a procedure, there are protocols, and they're well established. These are global protocols. It's not about gatekeeping. It's about making sure that people are safe, making sure that you've got a sustainable life, making sure that, you know, it's actually going to help you get to where you need to be. So yeah, whatever you want to do in life, you need to take control of it. If you don't want to transition, you don't want to make a full social transition, you want to make a partial. If you don't want to start hormones, you don't have to. If you do want to take hormones but you don't want surgery, this is all perfect. But whatever you choose to do, make sure that you take control of it, because it isn't just going to land in your lap. And if somebody puts up a barrier, if somebody puts up a problem, don't just turn around and say to them, well, fine, okay, I'm obviously not trans enough for you then. No, I'm sorry. Those barriers, those protocols, those gates are there for our protection. They're there for everybody's protection, to make sure that people don't do life-altering things that they're then going to massively regret, be that short-term or long-term. You know, so take back control of your life. That's what I did. And I think a few people have I get it quite a bit. I don't want to sound big-headed, but I get messages every single day asking me for advice, and I'm not entirely sure that people always want to hear what is real, what is true. I think a lot of sometimes what people need to hear is they need some sympathy, they need a sympathetic ear. Oh my God, yeah, I've been there, it was so difficult. This is what I did. And I try with these videos to do that to a degree. But there's going to come a point where it doesn't matter how many people you talk to, how much advice you get on, you know, how can I cover up my leg hair? Wear trousers, shave it off. There's going to get a point where you have to stop asking questions and you just have to go out there and take back control of your life. If I could go back and do things differently, there would be a few things that I would do differently. They're personal things. They're not, you know, strictly related to my transition. There would be things I would do differently about how I came out to people, and indeed how long it took me to recognise what was going on and how long it took me to sort of express that to the world. I would definitely do some of those things differently. But I do not regret for 1 second making the choice that I've made to take my life into my own hands. Yeah, so do it. This is, or don't, or don't, it's up to you. This is the point. I just want you to be in control of your life because no one else is. You control your life. Control it the way you want to, but make sure you control it. Cool, that was it. I needed to get it off my chest. I feel a bit better, thank you. I've had a really good day, actually. All in all, I've had some really interesting conversations with some quite incredible people who are doing amazing things for the community at the moment as well. So I'm really, really genuinely excited about working with some of them to try and help, you know, just to try and help spread the understanding. These videos are great, but let's face it, the only people that see them are people that are deliberately looking for them or people that are already know this stuff. A lot of what I'm telling you, you probably already know for yourself anyway. So sorry if I'm repeating, you know, what you've already heard, and sorry if I'm not telling you anything any different. But if you feel like that, it's probably because it isn't for you. It's probably because this needs to be told to some people who aren't quite ready to do certain things, some people who don't quite understand. But by the sound of it, I've got some really good opportunities coming up, which I'm quite excited about. And they're going to give me, hopefully, the opportunity to talk to some people that you know, that are the right people that do need to see that trans lives aren't all just misery and depression and, you know, changing your clothes and fighting against processes. That trans lives are just normal lives. We're just normal people, and indeed that they can be happy, and you know that I've got a good happy life. I don't want to say I've got a successful life. I'm not exactly raking it in, but you know, being realistic, I feel like I've succeeded in finding myself, and that's all important to me. Hell, it only took 30 odd years. Right, guys, thank you so much for continuing to listen to my nonsense, and hopefully I'll speak to you all soon. So peace and love, and bye for now.